You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
Welcome to another supplemental of Mission Log the Orville. We have missed you all so much. Today, our State of the Union. Do you get the play on words we're trying to do there? We're going to catch up on all the recent, not so recent goings on in the Planetary Union and provide a little tease of what's to come. My name is Jessica Lynn Birdie.
And I'm Mike Richards, and I love when a pun is intended. Have some courage, people. Intend your puns.
I think about that all the time.
In case you didn't know, Mission Log is a conversation that depends on your participation. Share your thoughts, ideas, and tell us what we missed at Mission Log Pod on Facebook. And introducing Mission Log the Orville, all one word, on Instagram. You can always email us at missionlog-theorville@roddenberry.com. And if you're watching this on the Roddenberry YouTube channel, hit like, hit subscribe, and remember, we may use your comments on an upcoming episode.
That's exactly right. There has been so much going on. Happy New Year, Mike. We have been meaning to do this episode for months. And then we got a very cool piece of information from Ben Robinson over at Master Replicas. And we realized we had to do it all together. Do you want to tell our friends what we're doing with Master Replicas?
This is amazing. A little bit of background. Ben approached us. Ben was with Eagle Moss. He's now with Master Replicas. He'll get to tell us. We'll hear more about how that all went down. But
not
Ben,
this episode, but he'll be joining us in a future episode. Yeah.
Some other time. But Ben approached us to do a giveaway of the Orville models that they have. What was really super interesting is that my wife and I were on a cruise in the Adriatic Sea. Ben and I are Facebook friends. He posted some pictures that looked an awful lot like where I was. So I posted, "Hey man, where are you?" And he said, "I'm about to pull into Korčula in Croatia." And I said, "Man, I'm about to pull into Korčula in Croatia." So we went out and we had lunch with his mom, who's a retired English teacher. She was a ray of sunshine. My wife came out with us. It was fantastic.
What are the odds? What are the odds?
I don't know. I don't think they're incalculable.
Well, I'm sure they're calculable, but they're past our pay grade.
Yeah, they sure are. They're inconceivable.
Inconceivable.
But yeah, so we had that had nothing to do with the giveaway. That was just the cherry on top of Ben approaching us with a giveaway that we'll learn more about. And it's going to be several ships, and you'll be able to enter. And Jessica has all the rules, and we're going to talk about that. So I'm going to bounce it back to you because you know more about it the logistics than I do.
It's just so cool. I think, yeah, like Mike said, towards the end of this episode, I'll give you a little bit more information on how you can enter. There's multiple ways you can enter, but I just think it's kind of like mind-blowing that just with one entry, you have a chance of like getting the whole line. For a second, I thought it was just going to be the Pterodon because that was the most recently released ship, which I think everyone, when season 3 came out, was so excited about the Pterodon. You and I had the very good fortune of seeing the actual model.
We did.
I like fangirled a little bit, and I normally like keep my cool at these things, but as a lot of you know, Mike and I went to the season 3 premiere at the Planetary. What was it? Not the Planetary Society.
The California Science Center.
That's what it was. And the Pterodon was there, which just felt like way too cool, man. And so when Master Replicas announced that they had the Pterodon coming out, I thought that that's what we were going to be giving away. Now, what's cool is we're giving away the whole line that Master Replica carries, also a Pterodon and also another ship. So there's like 2 non-winners, but still get to win a cool thing. If runners-up gifts.
Oh,
too.
great.
Yeah. So Ben has been incredibly generous. Anyone in the world can apply as long as you're like the right age, or if your parent gives you, whatever the word is, permission. And it's just a really cool giveaway. So
remember, kids, it's always better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Mike. I don't know if our demographic's very young anyway, so that's fine. You get away with that. Actually, it makes me recall the Nickelodeon magazine era that I don't remember what it was called, but you always, get permission from a parent to call. It was like always what they had to say. Like they drilled it into you. Like you can't call us, have your parent call us to get the Nickelodeon magazine, which was the highlight of my month.
I think it was called Slimed.
I want to say that I was gonna say Gacked because do you remember Gack? It was a version of slime where you could like make the fart sounds in the bucket with the slime. I was disgusting as a kid, and I only grew up to be more disgusting, Mike. So yes, you did some really cool things over the summer. We've also been doing some really cool things with the Orville community at large. So I'm kind of going to give you the floor to tell us and start from where you want to start from. I will say, spoiler alert, we're not going to be announcing season 4. We don't have that information.
No, we don't. We don't. But we do have some things that are related to that. And the first thing I want to talk about is shout out to friend of the show, Andre Bormanis. His recent work, The Guide to the Orville, dropped on Amazon recently. It is absolutely gorgeous in hardcover. It fills in all the details about the Orville and just the technology of the Planetary Union and all of the current day science that he's able to extrapolate with that great big brain of his to fill in this science fiction of the future. And you can read all about that. It is absolutely a fantastic, beautiful book. And
our goal is to have him on the show. We may to talk about it, and I just want to say if we do get to talk to him about it, I'll say this then. But if we don't, I'd like to say it now. It makes sense that this exists because there's books like this for Star Trek ad nauseum, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean they have both on the making of, which was cited as a book that both Andre and David A. Goodman read when they were kids. That said, "Wow, there's a whole career behind making stuff like this." That came from the making of Star Trek. There's also there's stuff that's so well done. In addition to things like there's a take on the Chilton's manuals and the Haynes manuals. If you've ever seen those for cars, they have that for the USS Enterprise, which is fun. Yeah. And then they've got all sorts of companion documents in the Star Trek universe. So it's great that we have this. There's also the world of the Orville, and Andre wrote the introduction for that too. So that's another book as well that looks at the same topic. I'd love to have Andre back on the show. He was actually our first or second supplemental interview that we did. I believe David Goodman was the first, and then Andre was the second. So OG with Mission Log the Orville for those two.
That's exactly right. And if you didn't listen, we did have David Goodman on recently to talk about a couple of his Dark Horse comics. So that is, we've been kind of busy, and they've been kind of busy too.
Yeah, and also Hysteria on Peacock, which was
love it.
Fantastic.
You love it. I still haven't gotten into it. Alex and I started Riverdale again. So.
Yeah, so the pitch, you know what? If you like Riverdale, you're going to love this.
I think I would. I think that's right.
It is set in the 80s, kind of with the backdrop of the satanic panic going on with heavy metal music at the time. And a high school garage band decides to embrace that iconography, and hilarity ensues. It's just a lighthearted romp through, suburban America in 1985 at that point.
Lighthearted romp. Let's blue sky at David Goodman and let him think what he thinks about that. See what he thinks about that.
Kids, ask your parents before you watch this one, please.
I do feel like every piece of content I put out into the world, I need a disclaimer like that.
Yeah. Just run it. We'll just run it along the bottom.
That's amazing.
Don't do any of this at home.
I know Earl's gonna put something like that as a joke, as a. That's amazing.
So one of the fun things we've been getting to do is JP, aka Justin Poole, with Egotastic Fun Time, has been inviting several of us onto a group that he calls the Planetary Union.
Which is so great.
Yeah, we've been doing shows maybe averaging every other month or so. But myself, Elise Hargreaves with Phoenix Development, she's been on our show also, where we did the T-shirt giveaway, the Bordas. All kidding aside T-shirt that we both have.
So good.
And she's got the Orville 2D Rescue, which is available on itch.io, and we'll post that link in the show notes. PJ from Orville Nation joins us, and Eric the Smoke Moran, who produces an Orville fan fiction. That's his nickname, not mine.
No, I got it. I'm just thinking what my epitaph is. Like by the end of this episode, you and I both have to have our thes in the middle.
Something.
Yeah.
I'm happy with Michael.
Well, you're
Mike
the
Richards.
captain.
I
No,
guess, yeah.
you're the captain. I think that's right.
But
Mike
yes,
the Captain Richards. Yeah, that's you.
so we chat about things that are going on at the time, a little conjecture. JP has a huge YouTube following, so the questions just come in fast and furious, and that's a good time. You can check those out. Those are on JP's YouTube channel. And over the summer, got invited to. We both did, but I think you were otherwise
incapacitated.
Yeah, unavailable to attend. So we did a Comic-Con panel. I have never even been to Comic-Con before.
So that I didn't realize.
You are
what
old
a writer.
school.
I am not old school, right? So like, I'll take the compliment, and my hipster heart makes me feel so cool when you say that. But 80s Comic-Con, when it really was about the comics, how everyone likes to say, is different. But I was like definitely partying at Comic-Con when like Marvel had a big presence there, when Disney had a big presence there, when it was like a really good time to be a TV and film fan before like Marvel Phase 4 started fatiguing everybody. So and amazingly, my first Comic-Con ever, I was on a panel, and it is exhilarating. So tell me all about it.
It was a lot of fun. So Justin Toney produced it and invited us on there. And like I said, you couldn't make it, sadly. But we had Elise Hargreaves, again, from Phoenix Development. Owen Cotter, who runs a sci-fi website called Sci-Fiction that also does some things on YouTube. I believe we're doing a collaboration with them and putting out Sci-Fi 5 episodes, which is fantastic. If I had a Sci-Fi 5 like on my desktop or on my news feed every day, laptop, phone, whatever it was, for the current day, whatever it is, even if I had heard it before, I would listen to it again. Just to know what happened on December 2nd in some random year.
I genuinely, so if you don't know what we're talking about, there was at least over a year, 2 years of content.
2 years. It was over 500 episodes.
Oh my God, that's absolutely incredible. That was a huge effort by multiple writers, multiple voiceover hosts, myself included. And yourself, well, you were writing. So, and then you did voiceover, right? Is that right? Or did you do both?
I did not. I strictly wrote for Sci-Fi 5.
You strictly wrote.
And that is the only writing credit that I have.
It's pretty cool, though. You got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, but I'm a paid writer, Jess. Now I can say that.
Actually, sidebar, my best friend Scott, I remember when he had in his bio on a social media platform, aspiring writer. And I said, well, have you written something? He goes, well, yeah, but it hasn't been published. And I said, you're a writer then. And I take full credit for his published book, Naming Your Little Geek, because of that.
You know what? And that rings back to a conversation you and I had a long time ago that I'll leave off the air. But yeah, we were talking about somebody, and I said, yeah, they're trying to be a blank. And you were like, no, they are a blank.
They are a blank.
And I was like,
it was because someone did that for me.
Yeah.
You know, this world is so full of self-doubt and enough people telling you what you shouldn't be doing. The last thing you need is to tell yourself that you're not that thing.
One of the best pieces of advice I ever got, and it was from a book I was reading in grad school. It said, if you want to be a blank, start blanking. Okay. Now that sounds a little weird. But just do it. Don't wait for the time. Don't wait till you have the right equipment.
Wow.
Don't wait for the time to be perfect. Don't wait for this. Don't wait for that. If you want to do something, do it, and do it now.
I genuinely love that. I think that's any advice I would give to somebody who's thinking about starting a podcast or a YouTube channel or anything like that, especially nowadays, or I want to be a TikToker or an artist, an actor. Do it, refine on the way. And that has been, the worst thing you could do is stop yourself.
Right.
And I was going to say, what I really loved about doing Sci-Fi 5, besides like also being a paid voiceover artist, that is a feather in my cap as well. I walked out with like really amazing tidbits of information about really cool things.
Yeah.
I ended up falling in love with the ELO Time album that I got to do a whole episode about.
That was fascinating.
The album is good.
Yeah.
And I like ELO. My dad turned me on to ELO when I was a kid, as a cool dad does. he's never listened to Time. It's sick. It's so good. And it's not one like on my permanent rotation of albums I listen to all the time. So that Sci-Fi 5 was really special. I don't think we've heard the last of it. We just haven't figured out just quite how to make it a sustainable venture. And it might find a home on scifiction.com, which is very cool.
Yeah, so that kind of rounded out the panel. It was Justin, Elise, Owen, and myself. We had a great time. It was called Things Left Unsaid, talking about a potential season 4, whether there will be or not. But what is out there that is unanswered, that you have questions about, and that kind of thing. So,
was it a panel where people got to ask those questions, or were you all asking each other those questions?
So that was a question that Justin asked us as moderator of the panel, and then we also had people, handed the microphone around for people to ask questions. But just a couple of highlights. They asked us who our favorite character was, and I think there were a couple of Bordases, there were some Isaacs, there were some Claires. For me, I kind of went non-conventional. I went with Admiral Halsey. Because if you listen to, and whether you listen to it or not, I still say the same thing. But going back to Mission Log, the Orville, I freaking love that guy. He is such a great teacher, such a great mentor. He lets people make mistakes if there's time to, if there's time is not of the essence. But he mentors, he provides insight. He does all the things that a great leader does. And the way I see the show evolving is I see Ed kind of going from a guy that was having a rough patch, going through a divorce as we, got into old wounds, being drunk and hungover and being late and being tardy and all those things he was getting chewed out for. I see wherever this show ends or wherever, we extrapolate out Ed's career, he will be that Admiral Halsey-like figure for somebody else in the future. And that's some happy full circle stuff that I just really, really makes me, I don't know, twinkle.
No, I love that. I think it's no accident that Admiral Halsey is written so well. You kind of get the hard-nosed guy in Ted Danson. You get the politics out of the woman Admiral Ozawa. You really do get like a really great actors in those roles, kind of showing the different ways you can lead. And no one's necessarily wrong, but Halsey, he would break the Prime Directive probably more than anybody else. Do you know what I mean?
He would, but he would do it for the right reasons, and there's
That's right.
And there's different levels of rules, right? There's procedures, how you're supposed to do things step by step. There's policy, when you're supposed to, follow certain rules, and they're kind of like decisions made ahead of time. But then you have like your guiding principles, right? And using the Star Trek guiding principles is to seek out new life and new civilization and build a relationship with that. So if there's a rule somewhere that conflicts with that, then you can fall back on your guiding principles to bend that rule in that case. And that's what we're taught in leadership training that I've been through, and that's how I see it enacted, in good storytelling.
A leader, and we have talked about this too in our show, especially when it was asked of Ed to lead this way. A leader knows how to take the information from their crew as needed, ask, also hear when they are making a mistake, but also make a decisive choice. Yeah. And then apologize if need be. But someone who could, it's such a fine balance.
It is. And Seth actually, and I've just been impressed with his leadership, with the supplementals we've done with whether it was Tom Costantino or Andre or David or Brannon. We talk about his, what's Seth's leadership style like. They all say the same thing. He has a vision, he's clear, but then he's willing to listen. And at one point, Seth shared on social media, the hardest part about being the guy that makes the decision is that everybody that you listen to knows more about that certain topic than you do. They all know more about you. So, in the movies, you've got your cinematographers and your writers and your VFX people and, the actors themselves, maybe the script supervisor. And I'm just kind of making things up at this point. You're a lot more into how you make the sausage than I am.
I'm following along.
But you've got to listen to all of those people. They all know more about those individual things than you do. But then you've got to be able to kind of unscramble that, weigh the pluses and minuses and make a decision and then own it.
Wow. Wow. It's just making me think in this moment how great I am as a producer, Mike.
You are great. And have we and that's relatively new. I don't know if our audience knows this. Is this worth an announcement?
Sure. I actually wasn't even trying to grease that pipe, but sure, let's do it. Go. Why don't you tell them?
Well, in case you didn't know, Jessica is now the newest associate producer for Roddenberry Entertainment, with the area of responsibility with the podcast shows, I believe. And she's been jumping in with both feet and has been doing some incredible work. She's getting me off the couch to do things, which is not an easy task.
Is that true? I don't know. You really, we together make this show special. I just want to say that's the truth. So like, I do really well when I'm partnered on a project, and this show is what it is thanks to you. So that's the bottom line.
And I feel the same exact way. But yeah, so the panel was a blast. I flew into LA, rented a car, picked up a lease because she is on a work visa from Australia.
Oh,
So she does not drive. In fact, I think the only thing she's ever ridden was a motorbike in Australia, and she was thinking about getting one in LA. And I told her, please don't.
please don't. Yeah, no, that would be my. I think every guy I've ever dated, I said, you are welcome to get a motorcycle, and you are welcome to not continue dating me.
Yeah,
Like,
and she called it a motorbike.
that's so cute. I will say though, one of the best nights, one of my most exhilarating nights was spent on a motorcycle. It was very fun. I was a little nervous, but I was like, oh, I could see it's not the motorist. It's not the motorbike
Right.
person. It's the other cars.
100%.
That is the problem.
Yeah.
That's just my personal feelings.
Yep.
I'm glad that you and I share these fears.
Yeah.
But the drive down to San Diego is not that bad. Usually the drive out of there is a nightmare.
So let me think about how it went. Yeah, we drove down. By the time this was all, a lot of it was self-induced because I kind of tend to wait to the last minute for things because
Is that right?
depending on how solid the plans are.
Gotcha.
If I feel like things are in flux, I'll wait until they gel a little bit and start to take shape. So I kind of felt like in my mind, this wasn't really 100% going to happen until maybe a month or two before the panel. But got a really cool state-of-the-art golf resort about 25 miles north of San Diego,
Smart.
which was fantastic. So
Smart.
since I had the car rented anyway, that made sense. This place was straight out of the 60s, man. Not even updated ever since. It was right out of Mad Men. Frickin' loved it. So threw our bags there and drove into San Diego. Justin had everything laid out for us. Passes
Perfect.
for 4
Beautiful.
days. A professional press pass for all access for all 4 days, which was fantastic. So really, really liked that. So hung out Thursday night, met up with Roddenberry Podcasts, John Champion, Holly Amos, and our own Larry Nemechek, Dr. Trek.
Dr. Trek. That's where I met him. That's 10
that's
years
great.
ago, on the 65th anniversary. What was it? What was the Star Trek? Where are we now?
Well, 66 is when it started. So the 50th anniversary would have been 2016.
So then that's what it was.
Okay.
That's when I met him.
Yeah. And just in case you're wondering, Dr. Trek, not a real doctor. Just so you know.
I don't know what happened, and I might have shared this on when I went to.
Oh, I'm sure
do you
everybody
remember?
knows it. No, go
Did I
ahead.
tell this story multiple times? I went to create, what is it? Just STLV.
Yeah.
And multiple people tweeted me saying, yeah, he delivered a baby on the floor. And so I'm thinking, this is something that happened 20 years ago. And this is why he got the name Dr. Trek. Or while I left, because I was going to like Caesar's Palace or something with my friend Scott, he delivered a baby. I didn't. The wait.
There's no context.
There was not enough context, and the timing of it was insane. People that don't follow me, Mike, I thought he was trending. So I don't know what happened. I don't know. And it's also not a true story. I just don't know why this happened. So he's not a real doctor, though. But he's as smart as one when it comes to Trek.
Oh, he definitely is. Pro tip, don't show up Sunday morning in STLV for Larry Nemechek's speed trivia on Zero Sleep.
I thought you were
yeah.
going to say just in general.
Yeah,
but
no,
yeah,
I did that.
Okay.
Still ended up winning a prize.
Did you?
Not my best showing.
For showing up?
I think I got a signed picture of the Klingon sisters, B'Etor and the other one.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did not come away empty-handed.
All right.
Should have done a lot better.
I did the trivia my first STLV year at the first bar, at the other bar at not Bally's, it was it was not the Ramada. Good night. It's not even worth talking about it anymore. The Rio. There's that little weird bar that's all the way towards the back.
Masquerade bar.
Yes, and he did his trivia that night because I got there pretty early because this was my first year doing it with John, doing the morning show, and our team won, but it was a lot of Jessica stuff. So no, I got it. I got the hot pants. Oh, they weren't hot pants. I got the Star Trek pants. Larry just gives away. I don't know where he gets all this stuff. And I got a Star Trek Cats book, and it was great. Like it was a good. I did nothing to help the group, but I came away with all the winnings.
It is definitely a good time. And what was really nice was that creation entertainment convention in Las Vegas is more than just Star Trek. AKA, we had the cast of the Orville there. You and I got to moderate that panel.
That's right.
In 23. So that was a blast. So yeah, that was the panel. We spent some time looking around. I mean, Comic-Con is huge. I think that convention center's got to be like 4 city blocks long. Like it was tremendous. It's overwhelming. We spent the rest of the day out there, and then just drove back up to LA, and I flew out of Burbank and headed home. But it was a good weekend.
I'm so glad you got to get that experience. Now you'll know that you never need to pay for a convention ever again. You just need to submit panels.
Yeah.
It changes your whole trajectory once you realize that you're a creator in this space, you really, it changes, at least changed how I looked at going to events like that. Does that make sense?
It really does. It does. One of the things that, because you brought up, we were talking a little bit about Seth's leadership style and, kind of listening to experts and stuff like that. This just showed up on my news feed today. It was an article called Why Family Guy Phased Out Controversial Jokes. Right? The show's 25-ish years old. Times change, humors change, cultures change, and things like that. And I don't want to get too much into that. The article's, we can link it in the show notes. But basically, when comparing the Orville to Family Guy, Seth said, the Orville just requires a different kind of storytelling. And to be blunt, I enjoy it more. I've never enjoyed a writing process more than I have on this show.
Wow.
Like, wow, that's even A Million Ways to Die in the Old West. Like, that's pretty high, pretty high marks.
What's very funny, though, I think it was a Variety article of 50 top most influential TV producers, and Seth understandably was on that list. And I saw this because Fuzzy Door shared it on Instagram. And did you read that?
I didn't, but that I do want to check it out.
Well, the quote that they pulled for Seth was, the thing I always remember is it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to get finished. And I always look towards CBS for that reminder. But I think he also has he's good at what he does. So it's probably not going to be bad, but he's so right. And it kind of goes to a little bit what we were talking about at the top. Yeah. Finish it, do it.
Yeah. There's another old adage, which is don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Just sometimes, you got to get it done. Speaking of A Million Ways to Die in the Old West, as I segue myself.
Yes, you did a good job.
Just showed up on a list of top 10 parodies of the 21st century.
So I'll admit, I haven't seen it, and now I may.
Yeah. Charlize Theron.
Actually, I didn't. Yeah, I mean, she's great, and she's so good when she shows up in the Orville, too. But I had not watched Ted until you called me and said, I mean, the TV show was one thing, but I hadn't even watched the movies. And you called me and said, this is a good show. And I was like, all right, let's go. And I was getting the, ads for Ted. And I was like, this looks great. I'm excited to watch it. And then I watched the movies and I'm like, I was really missing out, man. And so I probably am missing out on A Million Ways to Die. You know what? Maybe I've watched like half of it. I might have caught it on like cable or something. I feel like I saw moments. Do you know what I mean?
I saw it in the movies. Cable's probably the right place to see it.
Okay, gotcha. I love that. I love that. No, I'll watch it. I'm sure it's great. And I know it's like not 100% a secret that they're trying to revive. Well, I know he's doing something with Keke Palmer, but they're trying to revive the Naked Gun series with Liam Neeson.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Parody is something he's very good at.
Yep. Liam Neeson also in A Million Ways to Die in the West.
And also in the Orville.
Yep. So, yeah, we'll see some of those.
And Ted.
And Ted, that's right. And Ted. I understand tricks are only for children. So there'll be no questions asked.
It's an unhinged cameo. Unhinged. It's so good, though.
It really is. So we're coming out of the holiday seasons, man. You're listening to any holiday music while you were enjoying the holidays?
Of anything I would add to my repertoire.
Yeah.
Actually, what about you?
Well, Seth and Liz Gillies came out with, and Liz appeared in the episode where we go, every 700 years, a planet reappears, right? And Liz Gillies shows up at the end of that episode as a very advanced human being, and that came back to, and actually that planet played a role in the mortality paradox, where Liz Gillies showed up at that point. And I think we were calling her she looked like kind of like a Metrone from Star Trek, but she also looked like she was in Tron. So I think we were calling her a Metron.
Very cool design. Oh, yeah, I was calling her
a Metron. But yeah, so Liz Gillies and Seth recorded an album called Songs from Home during the pandemic, which is fantastic. Everything's recorded separately because pandemic rules. And they have a Christmas album out too. It actually came out last year, but for some reason it got a lot more traction this year, I think. And I've been hearing more about it online. So fantastic stuff. They did a song together on the ABC Holiday ABC Wonderful World of Disney Holiday Spectacular. So yeah, I mean, it's that's probably still available on most of your streaming services if you want to check it out. Disney Plus, whatever.
I think. Oh, you mean that special? Yeah, I think in terms of this the soundtrack or the songs doing better. I think as it becomes part of people's thing that they listen to.
Christmas tradition, repertoire.
Yeah, that's
right
the
up there
thing.
on the shelf next to Mariah Carey.
Well,
and Michael Bublé.
I lost the game really early. I don't think you can win now. So you know what the game is, right? Have I told you this? So everyone put this in your back pocket.
Yeah, I do remember the game.
So the game is do your best to get through the entire holiday season not having heard Drummer Boy not even once. And when I was prepping for it last year, not this most recent Christmas season, but the season before, I saw a interview with Seth on like Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel talking about how much he hates Drummer Boy, and he starts singing it, and I lost because of that. So this year, I heard there was a chime on my phone that was new, and every time I heard it, it reminded me of David Bowie's line in the Bing Crosby, David Bowie, Drummer Boy. And even if you sing it, you lose. And so every time I heard the chime made me sing it, and I sang it, and I lost early this season.
Oh, that's too bad.
But it's impossible to do that with the Mariah Carey could be really fun to do, but it'd be impossible.
But to be fair, both the Joan Jett and the Justin Bieber versions of Little Drummer Boy are fair game.
It depends on how you want to torture yourself. I didn't know Joan Jett did one, but now that I've lost, you can listen to it until November 1st, I believe, is the beginning of the season. So November 1st next year. Keep that in mind.
Something for next year. Be listening to.
So I think that kind of. We didn't get a chance to talk about this when it happened. We weren't fortunate enough because the timing just didn't work out to have Gordon on our show, aka Scott Grimes. It didn't work out to have him to come talk about Talking Ted. If they do season 2, we'll see. Or he hates us. I don't know, but I think it just didn't work out.
I think so too. His emails were awfully apologetic.
Totally. However, he's basically said season 4 is happening, everybody, and
Yeah.
we emailed him right away, and he didn't respond.
So we got some information that we were asked to share. We shared it as long as we shared it.
Okay to share, yeah.
Without citing a source. But at the panel, Justin Toney actually put that tweet up on the big screen at our San Diego Comic-Con. Just to kind of raise some conjecture about that. They pressed me pretty hard. I did not give. I was like, look, we've got a great relationship with the creative staff of this show. We don't want to jeopardize that in any way. We were asked to share that, and we did. And that's how I left it.
But then Scott Grimes,
like we were getting texts saying like, what the F did he say?
you sent me the video of it, but it seems like he got a little slap on the wrist for basically saying season 4 is happening. We've said this before, even before we kind of got the don't worry, it's going to happen. I don't think Seth MacFarlane is ever going to let this show go. I think it's something he absolutely loves to do. I think he will find the way to do it. And it truly was greenlit. It's just when. Yep. And so I think it's a wonderful thing that the audience and the fans of the Orville are so on hind legs for the next season. I think we just need to accept that we're in a different era of TV and streaming where it just doesn't always come out next season right away. I mean, I expressed a lot of frustration over this when me and my co-host Ben for Podcast of the Rings were covering Rings of Power over on Amazon. And even when we were doing House of the Dragon, those we won't see the next season of Rings of Power for like 2.5 years.
Right.
It's kind of upsetting. And I know it's just TV, but it's kind of crazy.
It is. And I think my first experience with that kind of heartbreak was between like seasons 3 and 4 of Battlestar Galactica. When at the end of one of the seasons, the cliffhanger was Battlestar Galactica will be back. And it had like it wasn't even like the next year, it was the year after that. So, and I was just like, how? So we went from 26 episodes plus the reruns, a full year of television coming out, very like clockwork every September for as long as that show started. And then we were like, what's this crazy stuff they do in the UK, man, where it's like 7 episodes every 2 years? That's nuts. Well, now we've sort of morphed into that role ourselves. And it's okay because I think the quality is better.
The quality is totally better all around for the most part. Our biggest complaint with Rings of Power, and I'm sure it's a very divisive show, mostly because racists don't like it, but they only got greenlit for like 8 episodes. They needed 10. There's there's always going to be something that's getting lost in that. But we pointed often to Game of Thrones. They did this 10 episodes every season, like clockwork, and they were pretty darn good. So I don't have a hot take here necessarily, just that we're in a different world of streaming. And I think we can be pretty sure Orville will come back. I think that's right.
I think so too. I've been recently reassured because I mean that when we did the panel, I was like, hey, what can I talk about? What can't I talk about? And it was like, man, you just tell them what you know, which is the show's been renewed by Disney, and that when there's time, they'll get to work on it.
We'll be doing it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we'll see season 4. I'm excited for that. I'm also excited for season 2 of Ted. I think it's really wonderful. I think we won't see anything else past season 2. I just a little thing I wanted to say with this time in between seasons, and kind of just like thinking about all we learned and how the Orville started, where it has ended up in quality, in style. It really makes me sad that he didn't get a chance to take a stab at our current era Star Trek. I know a lot of people love it. I found the way I can like it in my own way. Like I didn't think I could, right? And then I finally watched Discovery and I was like, I kind of get this. I like it. It's fun. It just doesn't feel like Star Trek, man. And I just don't think they had the vision to go, we can love something modernize it, but still keep the heart. And Seth really did do that. And I really have been critical over people who are like, it's better Star Trek than Star Trek. I just don't like that narrative when it takes down someone else's opinion that likes the current Star Trek. Do you know what I mean?
I do. You don't have to, put somebody else down to prop up what you like more, right? You can like your thing. I mean, Earl Green, who you may know, said it best. And we said, man, I just found out there's two bands, making the kind of music I like. And he was like, that's a great thing. And the thing about Discovery is, and what I hear about from the diehard Discovery fans over and over and over again, is the representation in that show is amazing. And I see it. Like, I don't need them to tell me that. But for them, that feeling of representation. I mean, as a white guy, growing up in the 70s and 80s, all I had to do was change the channel. And I could see a white guy role model, whether it was, Steve McGarrett or Captain Kirk or, Bruce Wayne or whatever, right? They're all there. But for other people to see themselves in a role that they can aspire to is amazing for them. And, there's all kinds of representation in Discovery. And I really think that's the value of the show. And the stories are pretty darn good too. It's just different. It's just different. I love Lower Decks. We're in the last season, sadly, of Lower Decks. I love Prodigy. I think that's fantastic. I thought Picard was good. I thought season 3 of Picard was particularly good. And Strange New Worlds is still growing on me. I know I'm definitely in the minority there, but I just kind of feel like quit rewriting original series episodes and do your own thing.
I think a lot of people have felt that way for a long time, even as long as Kelvin. The Kelvin timeline. Like, do we really need to tell Kirk's story in order to keep people interested? Now, I also selfishly love the Kelvin timeline movies. I really enjoyed them. I accept them for what they are as something different, and I also love me some Chris Pine, so I'm not complaining about that.
He's okay, but he is now older than William Shatner was in Star Trek VI, so that's going to be a tough sell if they want to do a younger, hipper Captain Kirk and another movie coming up.
Well, Mark Paul Gosselaar is probably older than Chris Pine, so I don't know what you're going to do.
He would make a great Captain Kirk.
Let's just talk a little bit more about this excellent, exciting giveaway. If you're watching us on YouTube, you're going to see me point down right now. That is where you can find the link to the giveaway. The first thing you got to do is make sure you log in and sign up for the Master Replicas newsletter. That just gains you one entry right away. If you're just listening to us, you will find the link to this giveaway in the liner notes. The giveaway is starting the day this episode airs, which I believe is January 8th. So run, don't walk, but also safely, or open up a new tab while you're listening to us. There's also so many different ways you can increase your entries, and that's following us on Instagram, following us on Facebook, visiting our Patreon. All these little different actions count as one extra tally towards you potentially winning the entire line that Master Replica offers of Orville ships, which is just so exciting, Mike. It's so cool.
And I have them all. Like I've bought everything that was made. The Orville LG, the Krill Destroyer, the Kaylon Raider, the Kaylon Cruiser, the Orville Shuttle. I have the Pterodon on order. So they are beautiful. This is a wonderful giveaway, and I would love to have not paid for all of those and won them all on a giveaway.
Well, why don't we think about all the wonderful episodes we've done has paid for that, probably. Yeah. We're legally not allowed to enter. I would if I could, but I think just having the Pterodon alone is worth just you clicking and signing up for Master Replicas newsletter. It's its own price of entry right there. But like I said, there are going to be one, a Pterodon will be given away, another ship will be given away, and then 3 runners up will also get a shout out on our show. So the last day that you can sign up or, sign up for the giveaway is January 27th, and we'll be announcing the winners the following week. So just stay tuned. We'll give you the information as it comes. I'm so excited for you guys to get these awesome ships, and thank you so much, Master Replicas.
Mission Log is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment, technical production by the assiduous Earl Green. Our website and your opportunity to comment and connect with us is podcasts.roddenberry.com.
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.